Hey everyone, welcome back. Today, we're going to do a deep dive into something that I know a lot of you are probably thinking about, expanding your business into Singapore.
Yes.
And let's be real for a sec. Singapore's kind of a hotbed for growth, right? Amazing economy, perfect location, and it's known for being incredibly business friendly. But here's the thing.
Yeah.
Getting started in a new country, especially one like Singapore, with its very specific regulations, can feel like you're trying to climb a mountain in flip-flops.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like there's just so much to figure out.
There is. The amount of information out there can be overwhelming. It's easy to get lost in the weeds trying to understand all the nuances of Singapore's employment laws.
Absolutely. And that's why we're here, right? To help you cut through all the noise and give you a clear roadmap for success. So we're going to be focusing on a company called INS Global. They specialize in helping businesses like yours expand internationally.
Right. And what's really interesting is their approach to simplifying things.
Okay.
They offer this solution called a professional employer organization, or PEO for short, that acts as your local partner in Singapore. And they handle all that tricky employment stuff for you.
So instead of trying to figure out everything on my own, a PEO kind of swoops in and takes care of it.
Yeah.
Sounds like a dream come true.
It is. Think of it like this. They become your HR department in Singapore. You know, they handle payroll, taxes, benefits, and most importantly, make sure you're 100% compliant with all those complex local labor laws.
Okay, so now I'm curious. How does this PEO option compare to the more traditional route of like setting up my own company in Singapore?
Right.
Is it just about cost savings or are there other advantages?
It's way more than just saving money. In fact, INS Global's data shows that using a PEO can be 80% less expensive than going through the whole company incorporation process. And get this, you can be up and running in just a few days compared to the months it could take to incorporate.
Whoa, okay, that's a huge difference. Time is money, as they say.
Exactly. And on top of that, businesses using a PEO in Singapore are seeing some impressive growth around 7-9% and a 27% return on investment. Those are some serious numbers.
Okay, you've definitely piqued my interest. But let's back up a bit and talk about why Singapore's employment landscape is so tricky in the first place. What makes it so different from other countries?
Well, for starters, Singapore has this unique system called tripartism, where the government, trade unions, and employers all work together to set very specific employment rules.
So it's a very collaborative approach.
Yeah.
Which I guess makes sense given Singapore's emphasis on harmony and balance.
Exactly. And one of the key things they emphasize is having detailed written contracts with your employees. And here's the kicker. You have to provide these documents within 2 weeks of hiring someone.
2 weeks. That sounds like a tight deadline, especially if you're dealing with international hires and different time zones.
It is. And if you don't comply, the consequences can be pretty severe, especially for businesses hiring foreign employees. There are even more regulations to be aware of, and the penalties for not following them can be quite steep.
Okay, so it's not a situation where you can just like wing it or figure things out as you go.
No.
You really need to be on top of your game from day one.
Absolutely. And that's precisely where a PEO like INS Global can be a lifesaver. They have the expertise to navigate all these complexities and ensure that you're in compliance, saving you time, money, and potential headaches down the road.
I can definitely see the value in that.
Yeah.
So we've established that Singapore's employment landscape is unique and can be pretty daunting for businesses that aren't familiar with it.
Yeah.
So let's talk about how INS Global's PEO solution actually works in practice.
Yeah.
What can they do to make this whole expansion process smoother and less stressful?
Well, as we've already touched on, legal compliance is a huge one. Think of INS Global as your shield against all those complicated local laws and regulations. They take care of everything so you can focus on growing your business without constantly worrying about breaking a rule you didn't even know existed.
Okay, that peace of mind alone is worth a lot. But I know we also talked about some pretty impressive cost and time savings earlier. Can you give me more specifics on those?
Sure. It's not just about avoiding those potential fines for noncompliance. With a PEO, all your HR needs are consolidated into a single monthly payment. It's like an all-inclusive package deal for your Singapore team.
That definitely sounds easier than juggling multiple invoices and trying to figure out exchange rates and all that. And what about that incredible time difference we were talking about earlier?
Right. INS Global says that setting up a PEO relationship takes just a few days, whereas incorporating a company could take months. That's time you could be using to establish your presence in the market, build relationships, and start generating revenue.
I'm starting to see why so many businesses are choosing the PEO road. Um, but what about managing my team in Singapore? Does INS Global help with that aspect as well?
They do. They provide a streamlined company structure, so you have a single point of contact for all your HR needs in Singapore. No more trying to coordinate things from afar or dealing with multiple departments. It's all handled seamlessly through your PEO partner.
That definitely simplifies things. It sounds like they really streamline the whole process.
They do. And speaking of streamlining, INS Global has a very straightforward 4-step process for getting started with their PEO services. Want to hear about it?
Definitely. I love a clear and concise process.
Okay, so first they'll meet with you to understand your specific needs and create a customized service agreement.
Yeah.
Then they'll legally hire your employees in Singapore, taking care of all the administrative and legal obligations.
Mm.
From there, their local staff handles all your ongoing HR services like payroll, benefits, and compliance.
Yep.
And finally, they provide ongoing support and guidance throughout your expansion journey.
Wow, that's incredibly straightforward. 4 simple steps and you're up and running in Singapore. I'm impressed.
I know, right? Almost sounds too good to be true.
It does. But before we get ahead of ourselves, let's break down some of the key labor laws in Singapore that every business needs to be aware of. What are the absolute must-knows?
Great question. Let's start with working hours. Singapore has a standard work week of no more than 44 hours with a maximum of 9 hours per day, although it can go up to 12 in certain situations.
So there's a clear emphasis on work-life balance, which is great to hear.
Absolutely. And to further protect employees, there are mandatory break requirements and limits on overtime,
Okay.
usually capped at 72 hours per month.
Interesting. Are there any exceptions to these rules? For example, what about executives or people in more demanding roles?
Yes, some roles, especially those in higher level positions, are exempt from certain regulations. It's something to research further based on your specific hiring needs, but overall, these standards apply to most employees in Singapore.
Okay, good to know. What about holidays and leave? What are the essentials I need to know there?
Well, in Singapore, employees are entitled to at least one full rest day each week, unless they're shift workers.
Yeah, okay.
And employers can't force employees to work on their rest day without their consent.
So there are some strong protections for workers' time off. What about public holidays?
Singapore has 11 public holidays throughout the year, which reflect the country's diverse cultural and religious landscape.
Mm.
If an employee has to work on a public holiday, they're entitled to an extra day's pay at their basic rate plus their regular holiday pay.
That seems fair. Now, what about sick leave and other types of leave? What do I need to know about those?
To qualify for paid sick leave, employees need to have worked for their employer for at least 3 months. They also need to get a medical certificate from a licensed practitioner within 48 hours to make a claim.
So there's a bit of a waiting period and some documentation required.
Yeah.
What about hospitalization leave?
That's separate from sick leave. After 6 months of employment, employees are typically entitled to up to 60 days of paid hospitalization leave. But keep in mind that using paid sick leave can reduce the amount of hospitalization leave available.
Interesting. So it's important to understand the nuances between the different types of leave and how they interact with each other. What about maternity and paternity leave? What are the regulations there?
This is where it gets a bit more specific. Singaporean female employees who have worked for a company for more than 3 months are entitled to 16 weeks of paid maternity leave, with the government subsidizing half of their pay during that time.
That's a pretty generous policy. What about non-Singaporean employees?
Non-Singaporean female employees are entitled to up to 12 weeks of paid maternity leave.
Okay.
And for fathers, male employees in Singapore can get up to 2 weeks of paternity leave if they can prove they're married to the mother.
Okay.
Again, the government partially subsidizes this leave.
So there are some variations based on citizenship. What about sharing leave between parents? Is that an option?
Yes, up to 4 weeks of the mother's maternity leave can be shared with the father if they can provide proof of marriage.
Okay, that's good to know. Now let's shift gears and talk about taxes. What's the tax situation like in Singapore?
This is one of the big draws for businesses. Singapore has a very favorable tax system with low personal and corporate tax rates.
Okay.
Individual income tax is progressive, meaning the rate increases as your income goes up.
Mm-hmm.
But even at the highest level, it only reaches 22%.
Wow, that's incredibly low compared to many other countries. What about corporate tax?
Corporate tax is capped at 17%. So you can see why it's such a popular destination for businesses looking to optimize their tax structure.
Definitely. But there's more to it than just income tax, right?
Yeah.
What about Social Security and other contributions?
You're right. There's also the Central Provident Fund, or CPF, which is Singapore's version of Social Security. It's designed to ensure that all Singaporean citizens have basic insurance coverage, including medical and retirement.
Interesting. How does the CPF work?
Contributions to the CTF are shared between the employer and the employee, and the exact amounts depend on the employee's age.
So it's a collaborative effort between the company and the individual. What about non-Singaporean employees? Are they required to contribute to the CPF?
They're not obligated to, but they can choose to opt in if they want to. This can actually be a nice perk to offer when attracting talent from overseas.
That's a good point. It sounds like understanding the CPF is crucial for any business operating in Singapore.
Absolutely. And again, this is an area where INS Global's expertise can be incredibly valuable. They can guide you through all the intricacies of the CPF and ensure that you're meeting your obligations as an employer.
This is all incredibly helpful. I'm already feeling more confident about navigating these complexities, but I'm sure our listeners are eager to hear even more about how INS Global can help them on their expansion journey.
Absolutely. And that's exactly what we'll dive into next.
Fantastic. So for everyone listening, don't go anywhere. We'll be right back with more insights and advice on expanding your business into Singapore the smart way.
All right.
That's good.
Let's take a quick break.
Okay. Sounds good.
You know, we've talked a lot about the nuts and bolts of Singapore's employment regulations, but let's maybe zoom out for a second.
Okay. I like where this is going.
Yeah.
Big picture thinking.
Exactly. It's all about minimizing risk and maximizing efficiency, right, when you're entering a new market. Singapore wants to be fair to employees, but that means a lot of very specific rules.
Right.
It can be a real minefield for businesses that aren't familiar with the landscape.
Yeah. It's like learning a new language.
Right.
It is. And the last thing you want is to make some really costly mistake or derail your whole expansion just because you missed some fine print somewhere.
Exactly. And that's where a company like INS Global can be invaluable. They shoulder that burden of understanding and complying with all these regulations so you can just focus on what you do best, running your business.
I'm with you on that. But let's say someone's listening and they're still not quite convinced. Do you have any real world examples of how INS Global's PEO solution has actually helped businesses succeed?
Absolutely. One that comes to mind is a testimonial from Manuel Ramos, the managing director of Teros Asia.
Okay.
He said something like, INS Global is a great solution for entering new and complex markets. Just because you want to understand a market doesn't mean you need to set up a company right away.
That's a really good point. So it sounds like they were able to kind of dip their toes into the Singapore market without all the hassle and expense of traditional company incorporation.
Right. INS Global's PEO solution is perfect for businesses that want to test the waters, get things moving quickly, and avoid those huge upfront costs and long lead times.
So it's like a low risk, high reward kind of way to expand globally. I'm definitely seeing the appeal. Now, I know we've been focusing a lot on INS Global, but what are some other things our listeners should be thinking about as they plan their Singapore expansion?
Great question. It's always a good idea to, do your own research and dig a little deeper. One thing we didn't mention is that Singapore doesn't have a national minimum wage.
Really? So how do they determine wages?
Well, it's a bit more nuanced. There are minimum amounts based on the sector, as we mentioned before.
Right.
And for foreign workers, there are specific minimums they need to meet to qualify for work permits.
So it's kind of a more flexible system that takes different industries and skill levels into account.
Exactly. It's definitely something you'll want to research further based on your industry and the types of roles you're looking to fill. Another thing to be aware of is the complexity of Singapore's visa system.
Yeah, we touched on that briefly earlier, and it sounds like a whole other layer of complexity.
It can be.
Yeah.
There are a variety of visa types, each with its own set of requirements and eligibility criteria. It's a lot to wrap your head around, but INS Global can be a huge help in navigating that process. They'll make sure you get the right visas for your employees and avoid any legal issues.
So it sounds like it's worth reaching out to them for a consultation, even just to get a better understanding of what the options are.
Absolutely. They can give you personalized advice based on your specific situation and goals. Now, shifting gears a bit, what about employee benefits beyond the mandatory ones? What are some common practices in Singapore?
That's a great question. The mandatory benefits are a good foundation, but I'm sure businesses want to go above and beyond to attract, top talent.
You're absolutely right. A lot of companies in Singapore offer additional benefits like uh, enhanced health insurance, flexible work arrangements, professional development opportunities, or even transportation allowances.
It's all about being competitive and creating a workplace that people want to be a part of.
Exactly. And INS Global can advise you on best practices and help you put together a benefits package that fits your company culture and your budget.
This is all so incredibly helpful. I feel like I'm finally getting a grasp on the ins and outs of expanding into Singapore.
I'm glad to hear that. But we're just scratching the surface here. There's always more to learn, and INS Global is the perfect partner to guide you every step of the way.
I couldn't agree more. They really do seem like a one-stop shop for everything you need to succeed in Singapore.
They truly are. And with their expertise, expanding into this dynamic market feels a lot less daunting.
Okay, I'm convinced. Let's say someone's listening and they're still a little hesitant, to take the plunge. What would you say to encourage them to reach out to INS Global?
Expanding your business internationally is a big decision.
Yeah.
It's natural to have some doubts, but don't let fear or uncertainty hold you back from incredible opportunities for growth.
Especially in a market like Singapore, which is, booming right now. It's the perfect gateway to the Asian market.
You got it. And with INS Global by your side, the journey will be smoother, faster, and less risky.
So there's really no reason to wait. Contact INS Global today and tell them about your expansion project. They'll be happy to help you take your business to the next level.
Absolutely. Don't miss out on this chance to unlock the incredible potential of the Asian market.
This has been an amazing deep dive so far. But I have one final thought-provoking question for you before we wrap things up.
I'm all ears.
We've talked a lot about the practical steps of expansion, but what about the bigger picture? What does the future of work look like in Singapore, and how can businesses prepare for it?
That's a fantastic question, and one that a lot of business leaders are, grappling with right now. Singapore is known for its innovation and adaptability.
Right.
So I think we'll see a lot of changes in the coming years, driven by technology, shifting demographics, and global competition.
So it sounds like businesses need to be agile and forward-thinking to stay ahead of the curve.
Absolutely. Here are a few key trends I think everyone should be aware of.
Let's hear them.
First up, we have the rise of automation and artificial intelligence, or AI. This is already impacting a lot of industries, and Singapore is no exception.
So robots are taking over jobs?
Not quite taking over, but definitely changing the way we work. A lot of routine and manual tasks will likely be automated, which means human workers will need to focus on things that require creativity, critical thinking, and emotional intelligence.
So it's about upskilling and adapting to this new world of work.
Exactly. Businesses need to invest in training and development programs so their employees have the skills they need to thrive.
Makes a lot of sense. What's another big trend we should be watching?
The gig economy is another major force shaping the future of work. More and more people are choosing freelance or contract work over traditional employment, and that's only going to continue.
So how should businesses adapt to this, shift?
They need to be more flexible in their approach to hiring and managing talent.
Okay.
This might mean embracing remote work, project-based contracts, or even, looking at global talent pools to find the best people for the job, no matter where they are.
So it's about breaking down those old barriers and embracing new ways of working.
Exactly. And Singapore, with its diverse and highly skilled workforce, is well positioned to be a leader in this new world of work.
This is all incredibly fascinating. It sounds like the future of work in Singapore is full of exciting possibilities.
It definitely is. And for businesses looking to expand into this market, it's crucial to stay informed, be adaptable, and partner with experts like INS Global who can help them navigate these changes and succeed in the long run.
Okay, I think that's a great takeaway. So to recap, expanding into Singapore offers huge opportunities, but it comes with a unique set of challenges. INS Global's PEO solution is a smart, efficient, and compliant way to enter the market, minimize your risks, and set yourself up for success.
I couldn't have said it better myself.
They take care of all the complicated stuff from legal compliance to HR management, so you can focus on growing your business. And they'll guide you through that changing world of work in Singapore, so you're always ahead of the game.
It's a win-win situation for everyone involved.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So if you're ready to take your business to the next level and tap into the potential of the Asian market, don't wait any longer. Contact INS Global today and tell them about your expansion project.
They're the perfect partner to help you turn your global ambitions into reality.
That's a fantastic note to end on. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive into expanding into Singapore. We hope you found it informative and inspiring.
It was my pleasure.
And for everyone listening, we'd love to hear from you. Are you considering expanding into Singapore? What are your biggest questions or concerns? Reach out to us on social media or leave a comment below.
We're always here to help.
And until next time, happy expanding.
We've covered a lot of ground today, from navigating those tricky labor laws to understanding the future of work in Singapore. And through it all, I think one thing has become crystal clear, right? Having the right partner can make all the difference.
Absolutely. Going global can feel like a giant leap.
Yeah.
But with expert guidance, it can be an incredibly rewarding experience.
And that's where INS Global comes in, right? They've got the knowledge, the experience, and the passion to help businesses like yours really thrive in the Singapore market.
Yeah, they're like your Sherpas,
Yeah.
guiding you through all the unfamiliar terrain,
Right.
so you can reach the summit with confidence.
I love that analogy. So for anyone listening who's, ready to kind of take on the Asian market, what's the first step?
Simple. Reach out to INS Global today and tell them about your expansion project. Don't let those big dreams stay dreams, Turn them into action. Yeah, it's that easy. They're waiting to hear from you, and they'll help you create a customized plan that fits your unique needs and goals.
And who knows, maybe our next deep dive will feature your success story as you conquer the Singapore market.
That's what we love to hear. So to recap, Singapore is a land of opportunity for businesses with global ambitions.
It's a dynamic, innovative, and business-friendly environment that's just ripe with potential.
But navigating the complexities of expansion can be challenging, to say the least.
That's where INS Global comes in, simplifying the process, minimizing the risks, and really maximizing your chances of success.
They're your one-stop shop for everything you need to thrive in Singapore, from legal compliance to HR management and beyond.
So what are you waiting for? Take that leap, embrace the challenge, and let INS Global be your trusted guide on this exciting journey.
We're cheering you on every step of the way. And that's a wrap for today's Deep Dive.
Thanks for joining us.
And until next time, happy expanding.